was a little sweeter.
Well, everybody, we're here today. I got my good buddy Spencer Bass on here. Me and him, we grew up together. We became good friends in the 6th grade at Carver Elementary. If anybody remembers that old school, boy, that was
what a place.
That was a long, but wild days, wasn't it?
It was. Chickens running around the schoolyard.
Yeah, man. I remember them days. We had a couple of buddies that kept us from getting in too much trouble. Then people would be after us, and we wasn't bad kids, but it was fun back in them days.
We were borderline, no doubt.
That's right. But then we grew up. After Carver, we went to John Miller's together and played sports together and hunted a lot. Me and your friendship really is based off of hunting more than anything. Even being little boys talking about hunting, and I would go and spend a night with you and get to fish on the lake and fish off the dock, and you'd come out to the house and we would stay together or camp out. I remember we'd camp out some, and we had coon dogs and deer hunting, a little bit of everything. But I remember you coming out there and going deer hunting with us. So
yeah, we had a ball. Your dad would drop us off down there at Island Creek at the camper, and we were young, couldn't drive, and spent the night and had a good time. You know, your mom and dad were they're like my mom and dad. You know, I love them to death, and we had some good memories, no doubt.
That was back when the deer stands was a little different, wasn't it?
Well, I remember your dad one morning taking me, I believe it was over in Sparta, Hancock County, and it was dark, and he said, climb up this tree, and I kept climbing and kept climbing. I got up there, I was about 40 foot off the ground in a pallet stand that was hand-built, and I didn't know if I wanted to climb down or not. But he walked up on me, and I could hear him coming. I'm kind of hard of hearing, and I didn't know where he was. And he was just as laughing and smiling at me when he come got me that morning. But I was way up in the oak tree.
Yeah, I remember that stand. It was a tree that went up and split. I'm wanting to say 3 or 4 ways, but I remembered it was. I don't know how they got it up there, but it was like a pallet, some wood they had framed up and got that thing way up there, and then it had a rail around it.
Had a rail around it.
Whole chair in it. And you was way up.
Oh, man, I'm telling you, it was at least 40 foot up a tree. It was the highest I ever been.
Or at least now it might have been 20 foot, but to us back then, we wasn't about 12, 13 years old. It seemed like they were way up there, but yeah, we had some good times deer hunting together, and the stories we'd come to school. I remember telling the stories over the weekend because you hunted the gas line over there in the Dinky line, and it's where Steve Renfro and them's place is now. But I remember y'all's hunting club over there.
Yeah, we had a good time on the gas lines where I grew up for about 6, 7 years over there, and maybe longer. Took you turkey hunting one time. Like I said, I'm hard of hearing, so I had a Walker's game ear, and I could hear a turkey way off. And you're very good at hearing. You said, I can't even hear that turkey. So I gave him a Walker's game ear, and you said, that turkey's about 3 miles away, Spencer.
Yeah, that Walker's game ear let you hear them, but then you couldn't figure out which way they were at. And I remember a lot of times us growing up, we'd go turkey hunting, and his dad, that Walker's game ear, your dad bought you one. And I ain't so sure you really didn't need 2.
Yeah, you needed 2.
You know, but he bought you one because they wasn't that cheap. He said, here, this will help you. And we could be standing in them roads, beds, and a turkey would gobble. And I'd go to walk, and you'd be going the other way. I'm like, where are you going? He's this way, Wolf. I'm like, no,
yeah,
he ain't.
Always came in the same ear, and you grabbed me. We got to go this way.
He's hearing out that same ear. But, yeah, then the after you got that Walker's game ear, though, I remember you got them earmuffs. We was behind my dad's. And that was really the one you kept saying, too. You was like, I hear a turkey gobbling. I'm like, I don't hear nothing.
Yeah, of course, the muffs were on both ears, so you could really hear good. And I kept telling you, I can hear one. I don't know where he's at, but I can hear him way off. And you said, put them things in your backpack.
Heck yeah. I put them on, and I actually could hear the turkey then, too. You could barely hear blah, 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 way off. I was like, dang, I hear him, too, but that joker's back in Milledgeville.
Yeah, they help a ton, but figuring out where they're at's hard.
Yeah, it is hard to figure out with them things. I have been blessed to have good ears. I'm getting older now. They're getting worse and worse, and I got that, I don't know what you call it, tetanus or whatever, ears ring bad and stuff like that. I can just tell with my age that my hearing. I can still hear a turkey pretty fair, but it ain't near what when I was younger, boy, I could hear one. I could stand there and I'd hear him. A lot of people be like, I don't hear him. I can hear him.
Yeah, I knew when you said you heard one and I couldn't hear him. I knew it was fixing to be a hike. Mm-hmm. And man, you'd walk me. Oh, I got to take a break.
No, I was always a chubby boy, little fat chubby boy. Spence was an athlete.
But you could chase a turkey.
He'd tell them boys, he said, you want to go for a walk, go with Wolf.
That's right.
He said, he'll wear your butt out going turkey hunting.
That 9,000-acre swamp, we touched every piece of it.
Yeah, I'd be all over that thing. We had some good times. I remember talking about that swamp, bringing it up. I remember we got on a turkey. We was walking down the swamp road, and we was easing down through there, and I hit a call, and one hammered. I mean, he was right off the road a little ways. And I got you over there. I said, Bass, I said, sit down. I said, we can call these turkeys up. And there was an old little slough running in there. And I made a couple of calls, and they gobbled back. And it was a few minutes. They come up through there. You remember that hunt?
Oh, yeah.
You shot him.
Yeah, and you had to go run and tackle him.
You got up to go get him, but when you went to go get him, that joker flew straight up in the air.
Yep.
But he wasn't able to fly off. He was like a dove that was wounded. He was up there hovering.
Yeah.
Finally, we got him back down and got him caught though. But that was pretty fun. That hunt was. I remember that one. And we did have some good times throughout the swamp and throughout hunting. I know, just thinking of another turkey hunt we had, I wanted you to kill a turkey opening day. I said, I'm gonna let you kill this turkey. We're gonna go in here at the place down Briar Lake Road, and we're gonna kill a turkey opening day. Went in there, and you know what hunt I'm finna to talk about. Yeah. We set up on that slough, them birds were hammering.
Yeah. I think we had over 20 birds gobbling that morning everywhere. We didn't know where to go.
We did. We had a lot of turkeys, and all I knew was to just sit down and call. And these two birds, I could tell it was two birds together because they had gobbled together every time, and they had done got fired up, and they was across the slough. And you was sitting there, and that's what you're hearing. Just, man, your hearing makes it rough when it comes to that turkey hunt.
Oh, it's bad.
And I was sitting there trying to tell you they had flew across the slough because I heard them fly. They was down about 80 yards or so, right in some palmettos or something. I remember I couldn't really see them, but I heard them fly across the slough. And I kept telling you, I'm like, Bass, turn around. Bass, turn around.
Couldn't hear you.
But you'd answer me. He was like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, what? Turn around.
I just knew a turkey was coming, yeah.
Bass, turn around. Yeah. Dadgummit, turn around. Finally, I just crawled around on my side, kind of laying beside my side anyway, just trying to ease around, and I could hear them turkeys drumming. Just, I mean, they were right there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're right here behind us. I'm like, he can't turn around now, and I'm like, I reckon I'm going to just have to kill the turkey. I could imagine what you thought when that 10 gauge went off, because that turkey wasn't 15 yards away from.
I could hear then when the 10 gauge went off. I heard it very well.
You could hear the 10 gauge go
off? Oh, yeah, I heard it go off. I think blew my heart out.
Then you jumped up, and that other turkey stood there for a second, and you was afraid to shoot because I was right there. I was about laid down. I was like, kill him.
Yeah, that was a good morning. A lot of gobbling.
Beautiful morning.
It was unreal.
But I remember I got up there and looked at that turkey, and he had about close to 1.5 inches spurs and 2 bears.
Yeah, big old bird.
I said, Bass, I sure want you to kill a turkey, but I'm glad I killed this one.
That's right.
Yeah, he was a toad of a turkey, man. But yeah, I remember us going when we was younger too. Like you said, Island Creek down in there. That was some fun times. Them old dirt roads, get to ride around them dirt roads back in the day. Things has changed so much since we was younger, man. Just open woods in Hancock County to go run through and hunt and deer hunting. I remember one time you was coming to camp out with me, and I'll always remember this. That morning, I'd went deer hunting, and my dad and Don Padgett was going, and they dropped me off, and they went and just rode around. It was cold, so they stayed in the truck just riding around in the morning times like they used to back in the old days, you know. And anyway, didn't mean to, but I killed 3 deer. I killed a doe. I was sitting where I could see an edge of a hillside with some pines that was scattered out in it. And these deer kept coming through there kind of pretty fast, and I threw up and had that old 30-06 that he had, that Remington 700 30-06. I threw up, boom, shot a deer, well, it disappeared. I said, well, I don't think I hit it. And a few minutes later, another one come through, boom, shot again, deer disappeared. I said, I don't think I hit that deer. dang, I'm missing these deer, because they was in the opening good. And we probably wasn't about 13 because we couldn't drive because Daddy dropped us off with the four-wheelers, and by that time a spike walked out with his old tongue hanging out. He'd been chasing them 2 does. He walked out in the opener, and I threw up with that 30-06. Boom! He hit the ground. I knew I hit him. I was like, heck yeah. And I walked up through there, and when I got to walking up them trails going up them pines, there was a doe laying dead. Went up there was another doe laying dead. And there was a spike laying dead.
3 of them on the ground.
3 of them on the ground. And I was kind of excited, but I wasn't because I know my daddy didn't raise me just to shoot up the world. I'm like, oh, dang, I done killed 3 deer. Well, they come driving up, and I asked them if they had killed anything. I didn't know that they didn't go hunting, actually. I said, y'all kill anything? They said, no, we just went and rode around, peeled around. I think they was looking at duck holes or something,
Yeah, they were.
And he said, what'd you do? I said, well, I killed one for all of us. He said, what?
He wasn't happy.
No, because we had to go in there, and it was a rough place to drag them out. But he brought me home. We unloaded them deer because we had a place that would clean them. We unloaded them, and he looked at me and he said, I got to go to EJ's. He said, I got some stuff I need to take care of. Y'all don't know, my dad owned a convenience store back then. And that was his way of really teaching me a lesson. He dropped me off with them 3 deer at about 12 years old, 12, 13, and he made me clean all 3 of them. And I can clean some deer now. I'll knock the hide off of one, the bark off of one, they say. But back then, it took me 2.5 hours, 3 hours to clean all them deer. And I got them clean and all. It wasn't about an hour later or so you showed up. Your dad brought you out there, and I remember you was kind of tickled. You said, we're going to kill some deer this evening, ain't we? I was like, what I tell
might,
you?
But I'm not.
I tell you might. Yeah, you're going to clean him too.
You talk about EJ's with your dad, and my little girl loved EJ's. Every day I picked her up from school, we went to EJ's.
Yep.
And y'all had a bond when she was a little bitty thing. But we were going to EJ's after school every day.
I remember exactly. She liked them airheads.
Loved the airheads. She loved Doritos because she would suck the cheese off Doritos and put them back in the bag, and I'd grab one to eat it.
It'd be wet and nasty.
It'd be wet and nasty. But, yeah, that was her favorite store back in the day.
Yep, that was some good times. I remember everybody loved. We had the old deer heads and everything hanging in there, and it was a community place. Everybody, you know what I mean? Come by
EJ's.
EJ's.
Hangout.
Come by EJ's. Yep. But me and you, we coon hunted some. I grew up. We had coon dogs, and you went coon hunting with me a little bit. That's some good memories. A lot of kids don't get to go and do these days.
I really enjoyed it. I wouldn't go with anybody but you and Hank. Hank was the best dog, which I didn't coon hunt a lot, but Hank was the best dog. We put Hank out. He was gonna tree a coon.
Oh yeah, he was my best one. Daddy had some sure enough hammers. You know what I mean? He had some dogs. He had one dog, Judy. He went and won the world hunt with. Will come in 3rd place with it in Ohio, and I mean she was great Grand Night champion. I mean he had made a sure enough coon dog over her. But yeah, Hank was fun. Hank was, if you competition hunted him, he was gonna give it his all. It was like one of us being competitive. But the reason you liked him because if we went by ourselves and it was just Hank, he really didn't hunt. He hunted hard, but he'd go out there. He wouldn't get out there that far, and you never had to walk really far to a tree.
He treed very close. That's
why
I like.
And he'd have a coon. He'd have meat. If he didn't get on the coon, he was back at the truck too. In about 30 minutes, and you load him in the box and head somewhere else. And I know you enjoyed them times going with me. And we was right out of high school in them days, about 18, 19 years old.
Well, my last coon hunt ever was with Hank. I said I wasn't ever going again because I think you had Hank and a couple small ones you were training, and they treed in the middle of a beaver swamp, and they were swimming around that tree. And you looked at me and said, if we don't go get them, they're going to drown. And there were coons in the tree. You could see their eyes. And it was about 30 degrees, maybe colder that morning. And you said, we got to go get them. And I said, Wolf, it's freezing. Well, what you didn't tell me, we went out there and got those dogs, got back to the truck. He said, and by the way, I don't have any heat in my truck.
Yeah, I think it started messing up that night.
It did.
You know what I mean?
And We had to ride home, boy. It was a cold ride home. We were off the gas line over there.
Yep, it was. It was a very, very cold ride home. Yeah, them hunts right there stick with you. I had many a coon hunting stories I could tell you that the bad nights were the ones you remember the most. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
Briar thickets and stuff like that, man. That was the ones you remember. But I look at it now, and, you know, I'm not saying kids don't have a good childhood, but we really had some good times and good childhood, the way we got to hunt and coon hunt and do things to hang out. And like we're talking about, I couldn't even imagine doing it with kids today. We would really get dropped off. We had an old hunting camp with an old camper and stuff. We would get dropped off at the hunting club at 12 years old.
Yeah.
12 or 13. I mean, Daddy'd come by, but y'all could spend the night.
They didn't have to worry about us. You know,
Yep.
we'd build a fire, had an old cast iron skillet cooking beanie weenies.
I was fitting to say, we wasn't eating
hot
steaks or
dogs.
nothing. We was cooking hot dogs
Yeah.
on a clothes hanger and some beanie weenies, and
Yeah.
had Vienna sausage and stuff
Good
like
times.
that. But yeah, it was fun. Then me and you really we got into duck hunting. I grew up duck hunting. And my dad trained labs and had coon dogs, and we had a really good lab through most of my years, Bandit. And Bandit, Daddy brought him home when I was 4 years old on my birthday, and we had him till I was 16. So that was my, you know, my growing up, my buddy, my dog. And my dad actually quit duck hunting after Bandit passed. I mean,
Yeah.
he wouldn't. You couldn't even get him hardly to go or nothing no more. That was just his duck hunting. And we duck hunted a lot. My dad, as far as like now, I turkey hunt every morning. And all back in years past, my dad duck hunted almost every morning of duck season. He had a duck hole, and back then you just had a lot of timberland, a lot of places that nobody really leased, and duck holes were just. We found a lot of duck holes coon hunting.
Right.
You know, he'd go in there like you talking about the dogs treeing in a beaver pond. He'd find
And it
duck
was
holes.
easy to get permission back then, too, you know.
You did. You had a lot of people that let you hunt just all over, you know, and so we duck hunted. I didn't get to because I was in school, but he duck hunted, like I said, a lot. Every weekend, every Saturday and Sunday morning, duck season was in just about. I can remember we usually had somewhere we was going duck hunting. And so me and you, we started duck hunting together probably about the time high school was starting to get out. You had got into duck hunting.
Yeah. I remember one of the guys I looked up to was Tony Waters. He had taking me out to Arkansas, my first ever trip out there, and he was great to me, and we really got into it right out of high school pretty good, and had some good times, man. We had some good times, good stories.
Yeah, we did. We had we went to Arkansas. I remember we'll start out on our local duck hunt. No, we had several wood duck holes. Me and you had come about and started really duck hunting around, and my dad he'd helped me get built me a John boat. If you remember that old squared up John boat, and we went down there to the Perry Sports Center because I remember you was excited about it. Me and you, we had it. He gave us 25 horse electric start motor. Boy, that was high deal back then. You didn't have to pull the cord. You hit that button, that thing started up, and we was all over the lake and everywhere else. And lake hunting ain't like it is. And I know you was wanting to get into that a little bit, talking about your boy, but lake hunting wasn't like it is now. You had some good little holes you could go to. And
You did. You had some really good holes, and, you know, you didn't have to fight with people to get in them.
At Shoulder Bone wasn't hardly nobody.
Shoulder Bone was outstanding. You know, you could get back in the Hot Cove by Georgia Power. I guess that's called Potato Creek.
Right.
And, you know, you could get back in there a little bit. And duck hunt was now, it's just crowded, man. It's kids fighting over holes, and it's grown. It's grown a lot.
I remember this, which a lot of people's hunted this hole over the years, but one of the best duck hunts I ever had, knocked down, I mean, compared to Arkansas anywhere. Me and you had one of the best hunts you could ever have in Georgia or anywhere. I'd went and scouted, and I don't think it was opening day, but it might have been, but I don't think it was.
No, it was a couple weeks in because you called me and you said,
yeah, because you didn't have cell phones or nothing, and I went and was scouting some holes, and it was like on a Friday evening or something, and I knew we could hunt the next morning, so I was out piddling around like we did when we was younger. And I actually had permission to come in to the hold at Island Creek off the lake by land. I had a guy give me permission that I could walk in there by land and hunt and park at his place. And so a lot of that hold at Island Creek, you really legally couldn't hunt because you couldn't get into it by boat unless you went in there by land. And I went in there, and there was a big old, if you remember, big old white oak ridge, and you could see that whole
pretty piece of property.
I went in there and just sat down, really just was sitting there just enjoying the evening, and wasn't going to stay but a few minutes, but just scouting, looking around, and by that time I was sitting down, and all I could hear, I got to hearing just everywhere, and I was like, man, them mallards.
He called me on the old landline phone and said, man, I got them.
And I stayed there because I could hear them so much, and I stayed there and watched them till they went to fly out. And they was flying out to roost, and I mean, it was just a wad of them started getting out of there. I did. I went home, and that old dial-up phone boy, I called Bass. I said, I hope he's at home, man, because I told you, I said, I got him.
Yep. We went the next morning.
Yep. I said, just me and you. I said, we fixing to go in here. And so when you got down to the edge of it, it was a kind of a deep little run, and you crossed over. You had to about hold your hands up and get to the top of your waders, but if you crossed over, it was a beaver hut that I found, and I could watch them ducks, and I said, we're gonna get on that beaver hut. So you can tell part of this one now.
Well, it was a heck of a morning, and man, you were wearing them out. I couldn't hit nothing, and we limited out that morning. We killed 12 mallards.
And wood ducks. We limited out on mallards and wood ducks. I got a picture we'll have to drop up here to
got
to
a great picture to show. I had an old Bronco. We went in and had them stacked up back there. But the last two we killed, they were coming in, and we said, we got 2 more to get. And we saw them coming. It was a green head and a hen. And you said, all right, I'm taking the one on the right. You take the one on the left. And we shot. And we knew who killed it. You killed yours, and I killed mine on the left. And that old greenhead fell right next to me with his feet up and had a band on him.
Sure did. Had a band because we were standing by there. I looked at Bass and just shook my head. I said, out of all these ducks we done killed,
I probably killed one.
I said,
we can't get in trouble now.
Yeah, I said, you ain't hardly killed. I said, you ain't hardly killed none of them.
But you knew I killed the one with the band.
Killed the one with the band. Sure did.
That was I can remember that hunt to this day, and that was probably over 20-something years ago, almost 30 years ago, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I'm about to be 50. It'd have been 30 years ago.
Yeah.
One thing that made that hunt so great is it wasn't just a bam, 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 and over with. It was them mallards.
Hours.
Them mallards just kept coming in there like in pairs or fours at a time. 4 at a time. And I probably seen that day that I seen you or called you. I can't give. I don't want to say it's been 30 years ago, but I seen at least 50 or 60 mallards get up out of that hole. Right. I mean, I remember telling. I said it is loaded with mallards.
Yeah, and you know those acorn trees on those ridges were falling in the water, and they were there.
They were there big time. And they were wanting a light. It was kind of that little slough that was by that beaver pond where we had to cross. They was wanting a light. They were cupping up. You just couldn't ask for it to be no prettier than that.
I mean, I've hunted Arkansas for years, and you have too, and that right there. That's high up on the list, no matter where you hunt it.
Oh yeah, that, like I said, that will always go down in history as my favorite duck hunt of all time.
It was a good one.
But then we started going to Arkansas. I remember the first time we went out there, me and you, was with John Willoughby, and
well, Tony Waters lined us up with a hunt on the hunting club out there.
That's right.
And
that was a funny kind of story too.
And it was cold. It was iced up, sleet and snow. And we had an evening hunt lined up out there. And with a guide, of course, hunt club guide. And we went out there, and the ducks were just raining.
Oh yeah, I bet. When we went to pull up there on that gator, I think is what they used. I know whatever called it, whatever it is, the
six-wheeler
thing.
Yeah,
Argo.
That's it.
We went to pull up out there on that thing, and man, I bet 2,000 ducks got off of that rice field. It was the most ducks I ever seen in my life. Just blew my mind.
That's back when the ducks were showing up in Arkansas.
Right.
I tell my kids, you want your kids to be able to see that, and there's still ducks there. It's just not like it used to be. But we had a good time that night. I never will forget that old guide. He was a good old boy. But he wanted you to shoot ones and twos, you know, but big groups were piling. And Wolf said, I appreciate what you're doing, but if you'll just sit down, we got this. And in about 30 minutes, we had 3 limits, boy.
We did.
And you were knocking them down.
He just wasn't wanting to. He honestly wasn't wanting us to just wear. I think he kept saying, "I don't shoot till I tell you to take them." And them ducks would come in and they were flaring, but they were flaring well in gun range.
Right.
You know, and I'm like, "Why ain't we shooting?" And he's like, "No, we don't need to shoot." And I figured, and we paid for that hunt. You know what I mean?
That hunt, for that hunt.
We paid for that hunt. So I was getting aggravated towards the end. I was like, you know, I done paid.
We got a 3-man limit at the end of it because you told him, hey, we got this. And we knew how to call, you know, a little bit. And, well, we had a good time because it was sleeting and snowing and iced up. You know, they were landing on the ice, just sliding. But
my daddy had gave me that. So I remember, though, we would have been 21 years old because my dad, or I would have turned 21 and you'd have been 20 because my dad that year gave me that humpback brown and waterfowl edition when I was 21 years old, and you couldn't stand that gun.
And that's what you call shorty.
Yeah, shorty.
Shorty.
It had a 22-inch barrel on it, humpback.
Humpback.
But
it
choked
was loud,
out.
but
And
you
yeah,
could shoot it.
if you was sitting beside it, it was blowing your eardrums out. But
What I had left was gone.
But I could kill some ducks with that thing, boy.
Yeah, that was an awesome gun.
Yeah, I still love that. It's one of them put up.
You know, you
chairs.
had the old 44 mag that you deer hunted with when we were little.
Yeah, I still got it. Both of them guns in my gun case.
And that was what I used to love about going to your daddy's gun case, man. He had a wall that was 20 foot long with glass gun case, and he had every gun. And matter of fact, your daddy sold me my first A5 Browning.
Did he?
And he said, $200, you can have it. And I still got that gun today.
That gun's worth some money now, too, because it's older.
I think I got it appraised at $2,700.
Right. Yeah.
And he gave me a Belgian-made Browning. And it's a great. Connor wants to shoot it sometime. I'm like, no, that one stays in the gun case. But,
that's one thing I will say about my dad. My dad he's always had a heart like a wash tub when it comes to the outdoors and kids. When we grew up, between like you and McKay and several I've known him to give several people guns, and if he didn't just give them a gun, it was like you said, like, you know, 200, give me 100. He knew he was about giving it away. You know what I mean?
You know, like I said, he's always been like a daddy to me. But even today, when I see him and we tell each other bye, he tells me I love you.
Oh yeah, that's him.
He's always been special, and your mom too.
Yeah. But I feel the same way. I don't get to see your parents and moved, and a lot has been going on with them, and I don't get to see them. They keep up on Facebook, and I've chatted with your dad some, but the memories I've had with them, you know what I mean, too, when we grew up in your house, us going out on the lake and hanging out, I had just as much fun on that aspect of it, too, you know. I can remember them trying to teach me to ski, and I ain't the best athlete. I was decent at football because I could be a little mean, just want to run over everybody. But you know,
well, we had the best of both worlds. I had the lake, you had the country, and we were just back and forth. And we had a good time, man, and we really enjoyed life together.
We did. We have. Yeah, that same trip out in Arkansas though, ice storm. We got to do that evening hunt, and an ice storm come in. And it kind of messed the hunting up the rest of the time, but I can remember going out. I just got a newer boat then, a river boat that I had that was a tunnel hull, and we hauled that thing out there, and we went in the Bayou Meter. That's all Bass talked about, the Bayou Meter. We get in there, we're going to wear them out. We seen a lot of ducks, but it was so cold that
when we drove in, that ice was about 6 inches thick.
Yeah.
And it sounded like an earthquake when you were breaking it.
We shouldn't have been out there. I look at my kids out there, I want to whoop their butt. You know what I mean?
Dangerous times. And, you know, we went all the way in the back of Hollowell's rest area in the Bayou Meter, and we saw thousands of ducks.
Right. They were just high.
They were high, but it was cold.
Man, I remember coming back to the boat ramp that morning. John, he had just done had enough of it. He's like, let's go. He's sitting in that hole.
Well, he was newly married.
And we went and Spencer's always been this way, and John too. We was up there. We left that night. Let's go to the casino. We went to the casino and should have made enough money to pay for the whole trip. Bass had this trick. You done told me on the roulette table. I got a trick.
I had the roulette table that a boy showed me how to play, and evidently I was lucky that night. And I probably had $4,000 or $5,000 in chips.
Yep.
And you said, we're going to eat. And I said, I'm not going to eat. And you said, well, give me half the money at least, because I know you're going to blow it. And I don't remember if you took a little bit.
I think I might have took a little bit.
I think you took about $1,000. And you come back from eating.
You was busted.
And I had about $100 left. And you were just shaking your head because you told me to get up.
Yeah,
and I was hard-headed.
That was me. My enjoyment of going to the casino back then was the buffet you got to go to.
Oh, yeah.
It was all you could eat, just seafood.
They don't have that anymore.
I know, but I'm talking about it was crab legs, shrimp, and
it was
oysters.
unreal.
It was. That was worth going there for y'all to gamble to me to eat, because I've never been a gambler. My dad likes to play a little blackjack and stuff like that. I ain't got no luck at it. They'll take every dollar I got.
Me and Connor go to Arkansas and Mississippi now. We still stay in that same casino.
Right.
But it's not like it used to be. It's more of electronic games, but it's pretty cool that he goes same casino and stays in. And
right.
I tell that story to this day, how much money I had in front of me, which wasn't a whole lot of money.
But us back then, at 20 years,
and
21
you said
years
we
old.
could have bought a guy that hunting tomorrow.
Yeah, 21 years old, having about $3,000-$4,000.
Yeah, I had a pile of chips.
That was a pile of money. That was a new boat back then. What you talking about?
That's right. That's right.
But we went on another trip out there. Was with me and you and Trey and Chris Wheeler. And we took Ryan, your little cousin Ryan. Yeah. And I remember we
drove my dad's old Dodge Ram truck.
Yeah, the main highlight of that trip was because we didn't kill no ducks that trip, but we had a good time. I think we killed just a couple of milers. We went and hunted in the bio meat, and that was when I was first getting used to people. They'd tell you, and it still confused me because, like I said, I'm just old dumb country boy. I reckon I had a compass, walked around, coon hunting and all. But everybody you talked to was go down to Hillsborough Road, take a right at the Crooked Tree, and then hit the biometer, but do due west. And we couldn't figure. We thought, man, these people. I think they was tricking us, honestly.
Yeah, that's right.
It was always, and I've learned that even going to Kansas. This due west, due east, due so and so. I'm like, just give me a road name and GPS map.
That's right. My son's grandmother bought him a compass, and he still keeps it in his bag today because you need it out there.
Yeah, you do. Everything's just flat the way everything looks and all, But yeah, we was headed out there on that trip in that old Dodge, and you done fell asleep. You had me driving, and I remember we was ain't at Tupelo, Mississippi.
Mississippi.
Right where it was at. We was coming up on it, and I've been by it since then and seen about where that same store and all was at, and there was a sign that said gas, and the gas light, I'm talking about, just come on in the truck. It come on, and Bass was sleeping. I hit him with my arm. I said, hey, the gas light just come on this truck. And I said, there's a exit right up here. And I shouldn't have even said nothing. I should have just pulled off like a dummy. But it said like 20 miles to Tupelo. And anyway, Bass had a store or something. He was used to stopping at up there, a place to eat or something. I hit him. I said, we need to get off on this exit and get some gas. You said, with the gas light just come? I said, it just come on. Nah, we good. It ain't 20 miles to Tupelo. Head on up there to Tupelo. We'll stop at the store. I know a place where you can eat lunch or whatever. Man, I shouldn't have never listened to him. We went 1 mile.
I know you waking me up again and say, hey,
yep,
we're out of gas.
That truck said, boop, 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 and eased off the road. I eased off me and Trey. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Then because Ryan and all was there, you was like, I'm going to stay with the truck. Me and Chris and me and Trey said, well, we'll go. We didn't have no gas can, no nothing. So we walked back to that store, bought a gas can, filled it up with gas. I was outside filling it up with gas and everything. And Trey, of all people, lucky as he is, he come out and he said, I got us a ride. I said, you got us a ride? And Breck Chambers was in that store and stopped at that
Breck
store and got gas.
Milledgeville, Georgia.
He's like, how in the world did y'all let pass this store and run out of gas? I said, you don't even want to know. But yeah, he took us back down there and filled the truck up with gas. That was a memory I'll always remember too, running into him. But
it's amazing. I used to drive out there. You didn't have phones back then. You didn't have GPS.
That's right.
And Tony Waters, I rode out there. He didn't use a map. He knew right where to go. And now I drive out there and I said, how in the world did we ever make it to this place back in the day? You know, with just a road map. And it's amazing. It's back roads all over to get out there.
Yeah, we can't. I've thought about this the same way you talking about, and we ain't gonna tell none of these stories because they really don't need to go on here. But we had a group of us that went to Panama City every year.
Yeah, I think we were the last crowd to Club La Vila before it closed
down. You know,
we won't tell those stories.
But
we had the old Bronco going out there, and you looked over at me. I'm driving. You said the steering wheel's smoking.
It was. I know.
Old 1985 Bronco.
Yeah, but I remember just having a wrote out piece of paper. I remember like my dad or somebody would write it out and give it to you, a piece of paper. Go to this town and take a left. Go to this town. Which if you knew town from town to town, you could get there because of road signs. Right. Nobody don't even hardly look at a road sign no more. I don't even know if they are up there, but you know that road sign will tell you so many miles to the next town, and then when you got to that town, you'd have to look to the road signs to go to the next town and pretty much make your way down there. Yeah, these days it's crazy what you
wait
can do
on Siri or whoever you got to tell you to take a right here or take a left. And
yeah, it's changed big time. I remember one fun hunts we had, and we killed some stuff too. Me and you went down to Darien, and everybody kept talking Sean Sanders and all. It was Sean and J.O. and several of them. You need to go to Darien. Darren's fun. An opening day trip to Darien.
And I still tell everybody today, you need to go to Darien.
You do need to go to Darien. If somebody says is Darien worth going to for some great
fun.
Memories, ain't it?
Yeah, it's fun. Go to Darien. You'll kill as many as you want to.
We went down through there, and you had to wait. It was just the craziest thing because you had to wait till the tide was right to get in or get out. And Sean and them looked at it and said, okay, we're going to go in at midnight, and the tide's going to be up. It's going to make it a lot easier.
Full moon that night,
yep.
I can remember.
Yep, let's ease in there. And he had already told us how to plan the trip. Take some food, all that, put in your boat. Take a pillow or something comfortable you can lay back on and kind of sleep in the boat. Take some naps in the boat. And anyway, we go in there. Going in there wasn't that bad. They did it right. They did because of the tide. I don't see how you wouldn't have got in there if the tide wasn't up.
No, because you had a dike you had to get to,
and then the mud when it went down,
had a slide on it.
That's right,
for the boat. And if the tide was down, it was 100 yards of mud waist deep.
Right. And so we got in there, and when we got the boat over that dike and dropped that boat in there and started easing up the canals, I remember it was red eyes everywhere.
Nobody said anything about alligators.
It was a lot of alligators.
It was a lot of alligators.
Some good-sized alligators.
And I said, what them red eyes, Wolf? And you said alligators, and nobody said anything about alligators. And I was scared half to death, man. I didn't know how big these things were, and they're everywhere.
They were everywhere. We got in there and got set up and found us a little place where it was a little pothole, and it's like, what you call that, like switchback grass, sage. It's it ain't sage, but it's marsh grass.
Marsh grass that they just flood
and all in there. And so we just eased around a canal, and you'd go get set up. You'd be surprised at the people that come down there to hunt, that would be in there. And so you'd get you a spot that early and sit back, and one or two of you nap, and the other one would be the spotlight man, I guess, like these days.
Waiting on a gator to crawl in the boat or something.
Keep people out of your hole and looking for gators coming around. But we finally, it broke daylight. I remember it broke daylight, and it seemed like we had duck. And I ain't never in my life experienced this until that time. And I know people look back and say you're crazy, but we ain't have no coots. There's coots on Sinclair now because of high drilling.
We ain't never
seen no coots, you know.
Right.
And a coot flies just like a duck.
They flew just like a wood duck coming through there. It
started breaking daylight and got shooting hours, and guys went shooting around us a little bit probably before shooting hours, if you remember it. And daggum man, ducks just was flying. I mean, flying. We knew what a coot was, but we ain't never seen them in this much detail.
It was kind of hazy or a little foggy, and you could see them, and they were getting off the water pretty good.
We started shooting. It was like they got up to fly around their morning fly around. We started shooting ducks, and I mean, I'm just tickled. I'm like, daggum,
we got ducks
blistering them,
everywhere.
man. Blistering them. And we shooting, and they falling all out there around us and all. There was so many flying, we just kept shooting. And finally, one of them fell and hit the boat. And I picked that joker up. I said, hold up. I said, y'all quit shooting.
The ugliest duck alive.
I said, this is a coot, man. I said, this ain't no ducks. And I got to looking out there the more it was daylight. I'm like, we done, Bass called it, we done had the Great American Coot Shoot. We ain't killed the first duck. And you could kill, I think, what was it, 15 a person?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could kill some coots, you know, and it wasn't nothing. I mean, it wasn't nothing wrong with what we was doing, but these, you know, wasting steel shot and all this, shooting all these coots, and we got the boatload piled up. We started picking them up, and actually, we had one out there and seen this gator come up and got one of them coots. He'd come up and grab him, sucked him down. You could see him come down through there and tell it was an alligator. And so we got what coots we had and put them up there in the boat, and we was sitting there and we was laughing, man, just laughing, talking about, you know, having a good time. It was me, you, and Rob had.
Yep.
And I said, man, I can't believe this. And that's all you kept talking about, the Great American. We didn't come down here for the Great American Coot Shoot. By that time, I heard a little bit of quacking, a little quacking. 2 blue-winged teal come over, 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And we shot, and I remember killing 2 of them ducks. And the way the boat was sitting, you was out in the front to where it was easier for you to get out of the grass the way we was hid. I told Bass, I said, go out there and get them ducks. You didn't want to. You said,
no, there were alligators everywhere. So you said, well, you're the one up front. Go get them. So I took out going to get that blue-winged teal, and I ran up on something that hit my leg, and then it shot up out of the water beside me. And there's 2 people that I know ever walked on water, and that's Jesus Christ and Spencer Bass. Because I hit that log and thought it was a big old alligator, because when I hit it, it came up out of the water. And you're back there rolling, and I'm hollering, shoot him.
I was laughing. You said, he got me, Wolf.
I said, he got me. And, man, my heart, I'm surprised I didn't have a heart attack when I hit that log. Cause
yeah. It was about a 7 foot, decent sized
log.
But when you hit it, it started bubbling and
popped up. And I'm hollering, shoot him, he got me.
Luckily, he had got my duck before he hit the log. Was coming back. Because I think I'd have had to go on back out there and get my duck.
Boy, that was a memory there.
He didn't want no part of that water. I remember the other part of that trip was we went to leave, and we was getting out of what'd they call them? They were like ponds, but they were called, I can't even remember. You had to go over a dike, though, to go into them.
They called that the Altamaha.
It was off the Altamaha.
WMA down there, but I can't remember what they call those ponds. But, I had a friend of ours went down there last year, and I told him, he said, you ever been down there? Yeah. Had a blast. Y'all have a good time.
We went to leave out, and the tide was down, but we had to come out, and you had to be out of there at a certain time. I do remember that. You couldn't hunt but afternoon,
12 o'clock,
and you wasn't even supposed to be in there. So we had to leave out, and the tide was down, and there was a trick to getting out, and you had to get the first boat. There would be somebody would come down or leave a boat out. I can't remember actually how it was, but usually there was somebody out there throwing a rope, pulling boats, and there was a little bit of land you could walk to that was like a point that you could go get in a boat or get out of, that was, down at the end of where the dike was at. And anyway, we got our boat up there, and Sean and them had kind of got out, and whoever was last to get out is what it was, would kind of wait on their buddies and throw, or first to get out, wait on their buddies and throw the ropes and everything to pull the boats out. And so we went to go get out of that thing, and we tried to push the boat down the ramp. It's like a slide. You want to push it as hard as you can. It's almost like sports, pushing a sled in football. Push that jugger as hard as you can, and it get down there and it hit that mudslide. It'd go as far as you can, but you about had to jump in the boat about like you was bobsledding.
Right.
Yeah. We went to go down
in that mud down there.
We went to go down through there, and that boat got about halfway across it, and Rob didn't make it in the boat. He fell off in that, we called it the pudding. That stuff got up.
Chocolate pudding.
It was scary.
It was thick.
Because it got up about waist deep, man, and he couldn't move. He
started crying.
Yeah, that joker did. Teared up. He thought he was there,
And he said, y'all got to come get me. And we kind of got on him. Come on, Rob, let's go. And he's over there tearing up. We were hard on him.
Yeah, I did. We threw him a rope, and me and you went to pulling on that rope and pulling on him, and he had to kick. We finally got him back in the boat. But I could imagine. I know it's us being young boys, young men like that, hard on each other. We always wanted to give each other crap. But I imagine I wouldn't have wanted to been in his shoes.
No, he
my
was
little
stuck.
fat butt.
He was stuck. I've been there before. I've been there where you come completely out of your waders and they're still stuck in the mud. You know.
Right.
But yeah, that was some rough. It was rough down there.
Yeah, we had and Sean. They laughed and couldn't believe this. We got back to the motel, and I don't know if we went. I don't even think we went twice. I think we called it after that first hunt. Me and you was like, the heck with this, you know what I mean, and said we was headed back home. But
yeah, and the mosquitoes were so bad down there. It was unreal.
They were. We had this woman come up, and she asked. We was out there. She seen the duck boat, seen everything. She she said, y'all got any ducks? We said, yeah, we killed a few. She said, y'all want to sell some? I said, well, that's illegal. She said, well, what about trading for some gas money? I said, most thing I got, some coots. She said, well, I'll take them. She gave us about $25, which then you can fill up a Toyota twice.
Yeah, coots for gas money.
I said, we'll trade you some coots for gas money.
Sure
I reckon.
did.
I reckon she ate them things. She had like they was pretty good, but I wasn't eating one of them. But I'll remember that too. That was you laughed about that all the way home. I'm like, you said, well, I can't believe you gave that woman all them coots. Sure did. That was an experience. We've had some fun duck hunting, man, through the years. Some good wood duck holes, and just like I said, I grew up with labs. I know you and Connor got some labs these days, but me and you got into bass fishing one time too. I remember you got me into it. I lived right over here up by the lake. I didn't live where I live now, but right up the road. And you was close, and you wanted to put these. First, we started with these Wednesday night tournaments. You remember that? We're gonna make some money, bass.
Me and you started our own tournament called Wednesday Night Lights.
Wednesday Night Lights. Went and got some scales and all this, and had
we had some big names show up.
We did.
What was it?
David
Kim
Lowry
Carver won the Red Man one year.
David Lowry fished a lot. You knew when David come, you probably wasn't gonna win it, but you know.
Yeah, they were good, but we beat them one night.
We did. We had one night. I remember we actually, that tournament though, that wasn't ours. That was somebody else's, because me and you didn't fish in ours a lot. We'd pill around. Remember, we said we wasn't gonna fish in ours. But they had started some. I think the bass backlashers or something had a night tournament. There was a few of them. Sean and them had told us about, or at work was talking about. I said, Bass, let's go fishing. And me and you, I remember we split. Wasn't much back then, but it was about a $300 pot. And I ain't never been no good like on the lake, sure enough, bass fisherman. I like the crappie fish and all, but we had done stayed out there late one night. It was late. And I'm about fed up and tired. And we was over there by the hot cove, and we was beating the banks and going out through there. And I threw out I don't even remember what it was. It was some kind of deep diving crankbait, and I threw it out. And you was trolling with the trolling motor, gonna go up under the bridge and go back out and let the trolling motor up. And we was going somewhere else. And by that time, my pole snagged. I thought I'd hit a rock to start with. That jugger snagged, just went to going off, and then I could tell it was fighting. It was a fish. I said, Bass, I got a fish.
I said, you got a catfish.
No, you said it's hybrid. That's what you said. You said you don't call it hybrid.
A big one.
I said, I don't know what it is. I said, but this joker got some fight with it. I said, it's a big one, and we got it going, and them lights was right there by the bridge so you could see in the water. And I went to play in that fish, and you up there on the trolling motor, you won't even come. I'm like, Bass, get the dip net. You said, I ain't getting a dip net. It ain't nothing but a hybrid. You dip your own fish. That's how you was. Me and you give each other crap. You know what I mean? You said, I ain't getting a dip net. I said, Bass, get the dip net, man. I got a big fish on here. I ain't getting a dip net, Wolf. You get your own fish. That joker come up, and I was reeling it in, playing with it, and finally it went up under that light and hit that light, and it was right at the top of the water, and you could see it. It ended up being a 7-pound largemouth, but you could see that stripe down at that largemouth. I said, Bass, it's a largemouth, and you seen it.
I got the net then.
You got a net, broke 2 poles. I remember trying to get the net. We finally got the fish in it, and like I said, I'm back there playing around. We ended up going and winning that tournament. I remember the celebration dinner at the Waffle House.
Yep.
After that.
Put a little money in her pocket.
We done spent way more than that though, going and playing with them playing them tournaments. But then you told me you was going to get me to fish the Berries Trail with you. Oh, you gonna fish the Berries Trail, Wolf? You gonna get into bass fishing?
150 boats usually, up to 200 sometimes.
Yeah, a lot. And I like shooting stuff. Like I said, fishing just wasn't ever my thing, but I wanted to do it.
I've never been real good at it, but I enjoy it.
I wanted to do it. He done talked me into it. We're going to fish the Bears Trail. We fished 2 tournaments. We fished 1 tournament. I mean, we didn't do, even name on the board hardly or nothing, but we had fun. And we went again. It was a February tournament. It was cold. I'm talking about cold.
It was about 28 degrees that morning.
I remember catching a bass that morning, and it was so cold. This is the first time I seen that. I guess you would say the word would be lethargic or whatever. I felt something hit it, and I just rolled, and the bass just laid on its side the whole time I was pulling it up to the boat.
30 minutes in, we went around the point.
Yeah, that's where we was catching them out of.
And we caught a limit in like 30 minutes. But they were all about a pound apiece. But it was so cold, we thought we were going to do good. And I think there was 150 boats in that tournament. There was a lot of them. And we finished 50th.
You wanted to go down to yeah, that was the first one we fished.
What is
Yeah, because the next one, this is what happened. We caught a couple of fish. We always went to the point. We always wanted to go fish. You always wanted to go fish Junior Collins' brush pile.
Yeah.
That's where you lived at. I know it's some bass there, Wolf. We got to go fish his brush pile. And we'd start there and pick up a fish or two. And then we went down towards Island Creek, and something started happening with the boat motor.
I think we hit a sandbar or something, and the water pump messed up.
That's what it was. You'd got shallow and tried to crank it up or something and suck sand in there. So we got it. We had to get back there. We got it fixed, but we got the boat going, and I don't even think you had put it on. We was making sure
the cow.
Yeah, we was making sure it wasn't running hot, and you got up and was running. Next thing, we turned around, you was going down the lake and got up some speed, kept asking me to make sure it was peeing. That cow flew off the back of the boat. I said, you ain't going to be happy. He said, why? I said, your cover on your boat motor just hit Sinclair. And I said, that thing gets sinking pretty fast.
That was our last bass tournament, wasn't it?
Yeah, you got mad, man. Everything went to going wrong. Stuff went to breaking. We pulled up there to the boat ramp. You said, back the boat in, back the trailer in. I went up there and back. And it wasn't even, this was lunchtime. Tournament stayed at 3:30. You done said, we going home. Backed the boat up, and the ice was all on the boat ramp. I was nervous about backing in there because we was over there at the I can't even think, the second marina. It's a steep boat ramp anyway.
Yeah.
And I was nervous about that, and you daggum went to get out the boat and come down through there and busted your butt. I'm talking about messed your hand up, your knee up. You told me we probably go part this boat. You said, Wolf, you ain't never got to worry about me bass fishing a tournament again. We ain't been back to one on.
I don't think I have. I
Yeah.
tell you, if you have a boat, it's always something.
Always. I've had my little crappy boat, and which I got rid of it a little while back, and I get to go fishing with other people, and it's just like every time you turn around, you set up, it's something you got to tinker with, or got to fix with, and that's why they about ain't worth it to me these days. But yeah, that was pretty fun though. That was throughout some good years me and you had together. So Connor has kept you into duck hunting. You get on to me or you stay on me about wanting to go. And one day I'm going to break down. I might do it this year. You got to go with us. But you sent me a picture last year with your waiter standing straight up. It was so cold. I'm like, man, you can give me up on that.
Yeah, the last 2 years we've been to Mississippi when the ice and the snow, it's been in January. And a couple years ago, it was 5 below. That was a major storm, and it was 5 below that morning, and we're prepared. We knew it was coming, and if you could be prepared for that, and we absolutely destroyed the ducks. When they say the weather's coming,
right,
and we kind of figured out that when we go back in January, we're going to wait on the weather, and that makes it good, and the ducks are migrating pretty good, but yeah, we've been out there last 2 years when it's got down to the teens and 5 below 2 years ago. But, I thought I loved duck hunting, and I raised him duck hunting, but he is passionate. Him and his grandfather, when he was 7 years old, 8 years old, they started building their own little duck calls. It's something they did together. But he loves it. He's got, he hunts with the dogs, and that's kind of special to him. And but I've always loved it. Right. Me and you loved it growing up, but he's sure enough passionate about it and enjoys it. And now I just ride. I'm the cook. They guide me. I just get in the boat, make sure everybody's safe, because it's a dangerous sport out there. But they just call me the old cook.
Right.
And, mid-morning, they ready to eat. I go start cooking, but he really does love it.
I bet it brings back some even memories though with us and them young boys. You carrying around 3 or 4 young boys with you a lot, at least 2 or 3, and I know they give each other hard times like we did. And you see that sharing it, or from when we was younger, passing it on.
Right.
To what you seeing now with them.
Usually 4 or 5 boys that are his age go with us, and they allow me to go. And I still enjoy it today. Of course, they take care of the old man. That's what they call me. And but like I said, I enjoy going with them, and they let me go. And there'll be a day where I won't be able to go anymore, and I constantly worry about him every time he goes out there. And I know a day will come when he'll be on his own without me. But I think I've taught those boys enough. Safety's the most important thing. Wearing your life jacket. And like I said, it's so competitive now with these young guys coming up. It's dangerous. They fight over holes. So, I'm kind of there to teach them, and they've gotten to see it, with me in the boat, how competitive it is. And I tell them a couple times I made them mad. They want to bow up the chest. I said, no, we just go on down, find us another hole,
Yeah, it ain't worth it,
But, when he was younger, they built the duck calls, and I took him to Stuttgart, and he called in the World Duck Calling Championship for like 13 and under. And that was special to me. And, he named his dog after Mr. Butch, which Mr. Butch ran the Rich and Tone, built all the calls. He loved the young kids. He showed them how to make calls, how to blow them. And every year Connor went out there while he was alive. Connor went in there and talked to him, really, really loved him. So that was a great man. And he was good to these young boys. And Connor named Tide, Butch's Rolling Tide, after him.
Right.
But, it's something great that you get a group together and watch sunrise. And, it's a special time together.
Yeah, I miss it. And I know that, you with Connor keep, sharing it and doing it with your son and all. And it's just, a lot of people look at you and think you're crazy, and Connor's heard this from me because he keeps pushing me, to come go with us, and I know he's heard all these stories from you because he brings it up, me and you and what we did back in the day. But it's like I told even Connor, and like I missed it, and I grew up just and you was there. We both in the day to where it was the heyday. And it's like now I do see it. I see it out here on the lake. These boys have these Havoc boats with 90 horses, and they're racing up and down the lake. And I see the dangerous in it, and most of them, you pray for them to use their head and everything. But it's like I told Connor, I said, I just feel like I got to hunt some of the glory years, and even going, like you said, in Arkansas and seeing it. I've been back since. I took Blake out there when he was probably 13 or 14. Me and Joey went, and we got the goody deal. We went out there. Timmy Evans hooked us up and took us out there to that honey hole he had, and we limited out on mallards and on a 3-day hunt. Just had a daggum blowout of killing ducks. And I told Blake on the way back, I said, you might as well just call that a wrap.
Yeah.
I said, you won't never go back and do that again. And they lost that place. They started, they sold that place for multi-millions of dollars when people knew it's got to be such a money thing. And so it's
and that's
really
what
expense,
hunting's becoming. I watched the podcast last night. Is hunting's becoming such big money. And the properties, people are going to lose their property because if you got a good piece of property out there, $1 million guys are going to buy it up.
It is. What it's costing us to even lease property and all. And that's one thing I am so blessed that, my father has done good in life and bought the piece of property he had. And it's not a big piece of property. You're looking at close to 200 acres, and it's 180 acres, I think. And we've got good deer, but luckily I've got good neighbors that's around it. And the place we hunted all my life was 980 acres, and it was sold for, $1.4 million. I can't afford that, I look back at, I've said this before, me and you, if I have any regrets, and if I'd have listened to my father in any kind of way, I liked to party too much when I was younger, and I went through money hunting and just went through money, and didn't really pay attention. I look at what, even me and you, if we'd have had our heads right, you could have bought land for $500 an acre back when we was out of high school, and $600 an acre.
When I got married, we bought our first tract of land in 2000. Well, I can remember it today. It was 23.59 acres, and I think we paid $43,500, and it was a perfect piece of property. You're young, you just getting married, and you build a house, and life changes. You sell it. But I had a lot of land around me. But land, and I've looked today for land for my son to try to buy him a piece of property to help him, get started. But it's unreal. I think our lease now in Tennille, Georgia, is like $16.50 an acre.
Right.
Which back in the day was what?
Oh,
just
5 or 6.
10 years ago was what, $11, $12 an acre.
Mm-hmm.
So it's even to lease a piece of property is crazy.
And I grew up too. We talked about it earlier. We mentioned the swamp, and me and Joey had on the very first podcast talked a lot about the swamp. But it was a place I grew up that I got you to get into, and it was 7,000 acres, and it was God's country.
Yeah.
Because I even was down the river gator hunting the other day, and we was in the river at that same spot, went by the old hunting camp, went by places, and it was just a shocker to me to see how much timber had been cut. You could see the skyline through the front trees on the river.
Right.
And how much clear cut was on the swamp. And I got to see that place growing up through the glory days of just nothing but big hardwoods. Like you said, you could stand in one spot and hear 20 turkeys a morning. Some people would say you're full of it on that, but it was just unreal at the turkeys.
Well, me and my wife travel a lot, and I love to drive.
Right.
I can't stand to fly.
Right.
I have flown a little bit, but I don't like it. I love to drive. And it's amazing how much timber in the state of Georgia has been cut. And, they call us a pine tree capital of the world.
Right.
And then you get in other states and you're just driving, and there's not a whole lot of timber cutting, man. It's beautiful timber. And it's just, and I understand people get properties left to them. If family members pass away, they cut the timber. I've seen that happen. I understand that. And, but it's and you hear Trump fixing to do away with 1 million acres of public land.
Yeah,
that's gonna be tough on the hunting.
Yeah.
When
I growing up, and you witnessed this too. I could hunt I could hunt that big swamp down there, which Daddy was a paying member of. But when he first started paying, was in the 80s, cost him $60 a year. $60 a year was his membership.
Wow.
The last time I was in it, it was $1,700, and it's $2,500 a membership.
Yeah, I paid
now.
$1,200, I believe, when I was in it a couple of years.
And to me, I know there's some good hunting, and I know they're having some good times down there now, but $2,500 isn't worth it.
No, that's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. You go to adding that up for a few years, and daggum, you done pay $10,000 for a few years of being, in there hunting, and
right.
It's just, I don't know, money. It's gotten to be a big thing how much it's costing hunting, and I really hate that. As much as I love to do for the youth and put on turkey hunts and different stuff I love for kids, it's really saddening to me to see it these days. Is if you don't have a piece of property, it makes it hard.
For years have talked about, we've found properties together, and we've talked about looking at buying property, but that's tough to do. This, prices are just high, man.
Yeah, and you talking about the timber cutting. I look at. I know this is for a whole nother podcast, and I know it'll be coming around December, January. We'll get to talking about the turkey population. My favorite thing is turkey. The population went way down, and I know you have predators. I know you have different stuff that's been causing the population to go down. But one of my biggest things that I've seen too in Hancock County is the timber cutting. And several years back, which is a bad thing, but they had the pine beetles. They had a bad year of pine beetles, and I mean, it was like everywhere you looked, they were cutting timber. But the thing was, they wasn't just stopping in the hardwood draws. These people, like you saying, they're all out about it getting that dollar, and they cut the timber all the way to the creek. Just leave a few hardwoods on a creek strand. It ain't even a bottom left no more. It's just they're right there on the creek, and that habitat ain't there for the turkeys no more.
Right.
And turkey can't live in a pine thicket. And there's some great deer hunting now because of that. I mean, deer adjust to it, live in it. They like a goat. They can eat anything, but it has really downsized the places to be able to turkey hunt. And some of my best turkey hunt now, where I had 7,000 acres to run over, is a 100-acre tract that's got some real good hunting, real good hardwoods that's left in the strands or neighboring properties. And that's where you're gonna find your turkeys at. And you'll go hear a few turkeys in the morning, but it ain't nothing like it used to be. And I can remember growing up when we'd ride them roads, and you think about me and you when we turned 16, just being over Hancock County and the places we used to go and ride. It was all big bottoms. It was fields. It was stuff that, you know what I mean, that you'd see turkeys in fields when you rode by. And there's no fields hardly no more. It's all pines.
Well, and me and you talk a lot. We gripe about how kids these days are raised hunting on a corn feeder, deer hunt. Mm-hmm. Well, they don't have the big hardwood ridges that we used to have. I mean, I don't like feeding deer. I wish they'd do away with it, but we grew up, we were hunting rub lines and scrapes, and now a kid learns how to hunt on a feeder. Got a big old redneck blind with an air conditioner in it or a TV, and he got a corn feeder out there, and times are changing, but they don't have the timber. And even with duck hunting, they're cutting swamps, and even in Arkansas, they're taking over these WMAs, cutting down all the big timber. So it's all across the country, and it's hurting habitat, man.
Yeah, I believe that too, 100%. The things that has changed in over the years that we got to witness, but yeah, I'm just glad you are getting to do some stuff with Connor, though. I mean, he's at that age now. It ain't gonna. I know he's had him a steady girlfriend for a while, but you get to stick with that hunting relationship. And I like I said, you said me and Kate, we had a good relationship when she was little. She used to call each other Pooterhead. You know what I mean?
Called you Pooterhead.
Yeah. She called me on my phone, leave a message, Pooterhead, what you doing? She used to come in the store.
You were special to her, and you were around when she killed her first deer.
Yeah.
We were hunting over by your dad's area, land over there in there off Lake Law Road, and you happened to be at home over there, and I called you, and I said, Kay said she done killed a monster, because we were in a tripod, and she was in the seat.
Right.
And I was sitting on the little platform facing the other way. And she said, big buck. And I'll never forget this as long as I live. Buck fever kicked in on her. And she said, what is wrong with me? And she couldn't hardly breathe.
Right.
And I was back there just giggling, and I couldn't see the deer. I could see a deer, but I didn't know what it was. I said, how big is it? She said, big.
And she was how old then? About 15, 14, 15? She was older.
13,
she wasn't
14 years old,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And so I said, well, put it on his shoulder and shoot him. And she shot. And that buck fever kicked in. She was hyperventilating. She didn't know what was going on because we never talked about it. And so I saw a deer run off, and I asked her, well, how big was it? And she held up her hands, big old buck. So I called you, and I said, Wolf Case done shot a big one. And you and Blake came over, and we started looking for it. And Blake was young then. He had a little squeaky young voice. And I never will forget this. Blake said, I found a deer, but I don't think it's Kay's deer. He ain't real big. And Kay had killed a little 4-pointer,
Oh, yeah.
But that was a special memory for you to be there for her for that, and me.
Yeah, that was our big buck. We've all been there and done that one, When I was younger too, I used to think the buck was way bigger than it was. You'd see some horns, boy.
Yeah.
I've said the same thing till day. I shot a good one, and you get down there, it ain't
And
that
they
good.
used to be okay, you know, and
Oh, yeah.
nowadays I think people kind of look down on that, but
Well, and they shouldn't. That's one thing I do hate about deer hunting. That's one thing too I love about youth turkey hunting and turkey hunting. You can't judge no turkey. If that joker got a 7-inch beard and he comes up through there strutting and gobbling and you kill him, who cares? You know what I mean?
That's right.
That's judging deer and we've all have been bad at it. I can't say that I haven't even done it, and I've tried not to never do it with kids, but we've all been bad at judging others about shooting a deer that they shouldn't. Oh, why'd you shoot this deer? Why you shoot that deer? And I have really gotten away from that in the last few years. I can tell. And even like me, I look at it like now, and some people could say this about me, and it ain't like bragging or tooting my horn, but I've told you before, I've killed a deer in Kansas, that's 174, and I've killed some good ones, and I still love to hunt. And I ain't gonna lie to you, 115-inch deer come through there grunting and running does. It still gets my heart going because that's what I love. You know what I mean?
Right, no doubt. And I seen you deer all the time that I think, man, this is 130, 140, and you break my heart. He's about 125.
Yeah.
And he is, and you remember last year we had the 162 on camera.
Mm-hmm.
And you were on me. You got to hunt him. And you told me the Red Day Moon?
Red Eye Moon. Red Eye Moon.
And
I'll
you
tell
said
that.
it's
They
on
hearing
the-
that a lot in the podcast. I'm going to have to get a sponsor by old Adam Hayes. on the Red
Exactly.
Eye Moon,
And,
'cause it
you
works.
were right.
Like,
You said this deer is coming. And I was going to hunt him all day.
you seen him the morning before.
I seen him the morning
And I told you
before.
that it was the moon. The moon phase was right.
And the matter of fact, I saw him that morning. He came around a turn, and I called you and told you. I said, Wolfie was looking dead at me, and I was up in about a 20-foot tripod stand covered up, and he just was staring at me or my way, and my gun was beside me. I never panicked. I said, well, if he comes straight or he goes left, I'm gonna shoot him. Well, he just knew. He went dead right behind a pine tree, and he got me, and I called you, and I said, man, and you said, tomorrow, I happen to be off work. He said, hunt him all day. Well, my wife works where I hunt. So at 10 o'clock that morning, I climbed down.
But I told you not to get out till
Told me
lunch. I said, don't get out till lunch.
Well, I actually went to the Dollar General to get something for the camp. So I got down at 10 o'clock to go to Dollar General, and I was going to eat lunch. At 10:32, he was on my camera.
And what time I tell you the moon phase was? 10:28, I think, something like that. I
10:28,
said he'll
yeah.
show up after 10 o'clock.
You were saying after 10 o'clock.
Because he had been showing up so much, and you had him regular on camera. It was before the rut started, right there at the opening season, and he had been, that deer was patterned. Of any deer that I seen, and you get these like that, especially big deer, I'm like, Bass, he is patterned. And I told you, I could have kicked you square in the hind end that day. I was like, do not get out of that stand till 12.
Yeah.
And you got out at 10 o'clock. You like, you done said it in about 4 hours. You like, I done had enough.
Yeah.
You ain't even been gone good at the Dollar General or whatever, and you sent me a picture and said, you going to kill me.
Yeah.
Said he's
He
standing
was
in
there.
front of the stand.
And the guy on the neighboring property killed him, and him and Connor are good friends now, and he called Connor to come see him, but he scored 162, and it was a buck of a lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
And but I wish Connor would have killed him more than anything, but I'm glad somebody killed him, because come to find out there were 4 properties that had this buck, and he was crossing 2 highways and 2 dirt roads. So I'm glad somebody killed him in a car. But we had a good time hunting him.
Me and you, one thing we had too that I wish we still had both of them, but was yours a 77 Ford? What was
my dad bought a 1978 Ford F-150.
It was 78.
And 78.
Yeah,
Yep.
mine was 77. But mine was 4-wheel drive. Yours was 2-wheel
Two-wheel
drive.
drive.
And mine was a burnt orange color, and yours was just straight up brown.
If we could go buy those trucks today, I would go buy it.
Yeah,
And
man.
just put it up. But
I wished I had mine. Daddy sold it to his first cousin. He ended up totaling that truck out, and God, it makes me sick knowing that I wished I still had that one today too. But I remember you killed a deer, and I ain't sure, but I was wanting to think my daddy come up on you too, or somebody did.
I think I took him to EJ's.
But anyway, you had the tailgate down. It was a good buck. He wasn't nothing but a big 5-pointer though, but he was
5-pointer, 18 inches wide.
Yeah, like 18-inch inside spread, just big. You was tickled,
I was
boy.
proud. I was riding him around with the tailgate down.
You got up there to the mall at the red light. Slung that joker out in the middle of the road. I'm talking about that like somebody losing lumber bastion. His big old bucks laying in the middle of 441.
Slid right out the back.
At the four-way, at the traffic light, at the mall and the banks and all that, and Dunlap, and that buck's laying in the middle of the road. Spencer's back that part, but I'm thinking it was, or either my daddy told me, he said, I seen somebody throw a buck off the road. He was turning. I said, that was bass.
I had to get help to get him back in there because he weighed about 225 pounds. He's a big old deer.
Big old deer. Yeah. Then that story right there, I'm gonna tell one on McKay, and he killed that buck with a drop tine and went up to Baines, and he had that old 60-something Chevrolet back then. You remember that old blue truck McKay had?
Yeah.
And he went to Baines to show that deer off. It had about a 6-inch drop tine. Back in the day, nice buck, probably 120-inch deer, but had a drop tine. And he come back, and when he went to turn on Kings Road going by his house, he slung his out the back of the truck. Well, he didn't know it. He went home, and when he got home, realized the deer wasn't back there.
Oh, man.
Back there no more. So he's sick to his stomach.
That wasn't as bad as mine.
He's sick to his stomach. Well, he comes back and goes back to town. Ain't seen it nowhere on Kings Road, and he's thinking them hills, you know what I mean? And he goes and gets almost back to the river bridge, and old Pierce's store that was right there on the left.
Yeah.
Old Steve McDade had the deer in the back of the cop car. The sheriff done rolled up behind him and seen him. They put him in the trunk of the cop car, and he'd pulled in the store. Seen the bullet hole in him. You know what I mean? Knew somebody shot him. They was sitting there seeing if somebody come back. And McKay got his deer. He got lucky on that one that somebody else didn't, besides Steve McDade rolling up on him, didn't find that deer. But yeah, both of y'all, that was a trip through your deer out the back of the truck. Big old buck riding around with a tailgate down. That's what we was all. It didn't matter if you shot a spike back then. You had the tailgate down, riding around.
You rode him around town.
But yeah, another story I'm gonna go back to, and we're gonna about wrap it up on this. But when we used to spend the night together back and forth, you was talking about we had the lake and the woods. I remember you grew up going to Hardwick Baptist Church over there in Hardwick. And I remember one Saturday morning, I love this story right here because it's just, I can see it in my head. Mr. Sonny got us up and told us before we went and did anything today, we had a job to do. We had to go to the church, and it was his weekend to cut the grass and keep the grass up at the church. So we struck out across town with the lawnmower and the weed eater and got over there. And me being the guest of the house, he put me on the riding lawnmower. He said, you can just get on the riding lawnmower and cut this area of grass and everything. I'm going to go around and clean up. And he put you on the weed eater. And I was sitting there cutting grass, and you was weed eating up next to the church. You was going at it. Well, he comes up to you, and I'm sitting there watching this just perfect. He comes up to you and taps you on the shoulder.
On the shoulder.
And you turn around. When you turn around, that weed eater's still going, and you get him across the shins. I'm talking about you wear him out.
He's dancing.
He's over there just to dance, and I start laughing. And daggum, you feel bad about it, but run back towards him and hit him again. You got him twice.
Never let off the gas, just wearing him out.
And, I'll remember that forever. That was hilarious to me. Me and you talked about that for a long time, but
it was good times. But I just want to bring up something right quick about what you're doing for these young kids, spreading the gospel. The turkey hunt event you had at the church where these kids came in, and you're doing an outstanding job.
Well, I appreciate it.
Because it's hard for people to get out there and do that.
Yeah.
But these kids these days, they need it. The world needs it.
Yeah.
And you talk about Hardwick Christian Church. My preacher is one of the greatest men I ever knew, Jim Nipper.
Right.
And but you keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a fine job. And
Well, I appreciate
You
it.
know,
It means a lot to me.
We all appreciate it.
I was going to end on this, and usually I go to my Bible, but I wrote it down. But Proverbs 18:24 says, "A person of too many friends comes to ruin, but there is a friend that sticks closer than a brother." And I look at that, and I know that I've got a lot of people I consider friends, but I've only had a couple that I really cherish through life, that you and McKay, and really Joey has been a good friend in later in life. But growing up, out of all the people we've really hung around through our whole life, between you and McKay has always stick closer. And I know that I could call at any minute, need anything at any minute, and always there. And y'all are like brothers to me, and you really have been a brother to me. Like you said, your parents and my parents have been like family, parents to us too. And
Right.
but after that, I want to say too, like you said, because I do try to keep spreading the word, and that's what I think we really need to do. And the way this world's going on, I love to do it in the outdoors, and that's where my passion and what God tells us to use our talents. And I don't have many talents, man. I wasn't ever the sharpest crayon in the box when it comes to school and everything like that. But I've always been able to kill a deer.
Right.
If I can kill a deer and call up a turkey, that's, if anything has talents, and I don't say this about myself, but just trying to brag on myself, but I love turkey hunting. And I can get a turkey. We can figure out how to get that turkey. But I just want to say that, really Jesus, I keep him as my best friend. And I've learned keeping Jesus as my best friend, the joy that he puts in your heart, and he fills me with love. And that's one thing that makes me want to do more for the kids and more for everybody, is just the love that he puts in my heart. So, I tell everybody, if you don't have Jesus, you need to find him, and you need to come to salvation with him. And we look at it, because the devil holds us as flesh, is that it's hard, but it ain't that hard, man. All he asks is for you to just give your heart to him, believe in him, know that he, died on the cross for us and was rose in 3 days. And if you ever really get down and give your heart to God, and I've seen this through a few boys here lately, you don't realize what the Holy Spirit does to you and puts in your heart, and what he does for your life. He changes everything, and it makes a big, big difference in how you even go forth with your life, and you see goodness instead of bad. And the way all the world's been evil and all right now, we're seeing everything going on, there's still a lot of good out there, and there's a lot of good to come. Yeah. And the thing is,
these kids, they have it different than the way we were raised. It's tough on them with social media, the kind of music that's allowed to be played.
That's right.
So they, you have to work hard to help them. Their lives are just we're right at 50 years old, and I see what goes on and what they hear, the music and the influence, and it's they need Jesus in their life more than ever.
They do.
But you're doing a great job at it. Keep it up, man. And the world needs more people like you out there. And it's a good thing.
Well, I appreciate it.
I enjoy listening to you. You're my best friend, like a brother, and you inspire me, to be a better person.
Well, I appreciate it, and that means a lot coming from you, a lot to me. But anyway, I love you, and we'll probably have you on here again before it's over. I'd like to get you and Connor on here. We talk a little more duck hunting. So
thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah.
Shocking silver queen on my grandma's porch. Peach ice cream churning on the floor. Telling largemouth lies when you're fishing. Girl next door had you wishing on a shooting star in a July sky. 4th and 1 on a Friday night, when the muddy water made my soul a little cleaner. Life was good and the tea was a little sweeter.